First action was going to go be see the middle bobs.
Yeah. And follow with them, one, to see how they did on their little excursion to Mount Celestia, and two, to inquire about this.
Okay. One thing from my notes, I don't think I saved, or I saved it in a place that I'll never find again, was the name of the city where the middle bobs...
Oh, yeah.
Like, main...
let me see if it's in my notes somewhere. I have to pull up a separate sheet for my archived notes.
Middle Bobbia.
You can only buy from the one store, and it's sold in company script.
I don't even have Excel installed anymore. Cool.
Oh, wow.
That's all right.
I had to reinstall Windows at some point, and I lost a bunch of stuff.
No, the name of the city is not of great importance. It's fine.
Right.
So, taking the schematic to the middle bob's shop, and as usual, your good friend Dinkflink Overwhistle is there to receive you. She's always delighted when her friends come to visit, especially if there's new choice information about this Aunt Nancy business that you were all embroiled in.
How was your excursion to Mount Celestia?
Very trying.
I can imagine.
Her experiences were much the same as your guys. A lot of very difficult climbing, a lot of putting up with a lot of preaching from various angles. Koranu was not a particularly hospitable guest and was not very forthcoming with any sort of Aunt Nancy information.
Riot asks how Sprig and Red fared in the sea.
Sprig and Red elected not to go for that exact reason. I had a list of who all actually went, but I think I have misplaced it.
Yeah, but probably Sprig and Red didn't go. That tracks.
That totally tracks. So we got a thing, and we were hoping you might be able to get us some information on it. And look at Mahogany and say, "You got the schematic, right?"
Wow, he looks down at his hands, which are empty. And he says, I'm pretty sure I gave that to Kelian.
Kelian, you got the schematic, right?
Kelian puts the schematic on the desk. Yeah, Kelian puts the schematic on it, down on the desk.
Okay. And Dinkfling looks it over.
Sorry.
And when she sees the logs at the back of the schematic, like, her eyes get very wide. She says that she hasn't seen one of these sort of vessels. I mean, she's never seen the actual vessel, but she's never seen, like, the designs or schematics, or even heard of one being sailed probably her entire life. But she's heard stories of them.
Since 1991.
She says the man to talk to about this would be her, I think, uncle, Middle Bob II. Let me confirm that.
Be great uncle.
Great uncle.
All right. Z in town or Z elsewhere?
Middle Bob II, because the one that you have traveled with on Pandemonium was Middle Bob III.
Oh, right. He's the guy who had the mechanical wheelchair thingy.
Yep.
Middle Bob II is the Grand Patriarch back on the Prime Material.
Oh, so we'd have to go back there, huh?
Seems to be the case.
All right.
Why do we always have to go to a prime?
Because, Mahogany, sometimes there are important things in primes. Okay, we've learned this, and we just have to accept it as fact and move on with our lives.
Are there any preparations you guys make in Sigil before you leave on this journey?
Yeah, Riot has a couple of errands to run.
God fucking damn it!
What? These are not scenes we have to play out. I just need to tell Brookroad I'm doing a couple things.
That's fine. Go ahead.
I am going to spend put 18,000 toward the Power Word Fund.
Okay.
Give my cell 2,000, and with the directions to use this to do whatever they need to ensure that the governors do not grant retroactive legality on the hardheads.
Okay, so you're using your anarchist cell to do that.
Yes.
Okay, and Brickroto got one little thing as well.
Okay.
And that's it. That's it for me.
This guy, the guy who Liberation had murdered at Riot's party,
Mm-hmm.
Liberation's going to give his information to Ragnall and say you should probably look into this guy's holdings because he's been dealt with. He was involved in some very bad stuff.
You pass it all along to Ragnall, and he says that he will see it done.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Middlebob II was not the most hospitable man that you've met. He was old and cranky and set in his ways, and you guys spent a considerable amount of effort to convince him that it was in his family's best business interests to see this Aunt Nancy thing through. The person that you actually deal with first upon arriving at the Prime, let me get her name. Is Kikina Middlebob. She was the kind of the Robin Hood figure.
The Pirate Queen, yeah.
And it took a considerable amount of effort to get her and her father to reconcile. She's quite old as well. She's Middlebob III's age. And she spends a lot of time in the city coordinating their various Aunt Nancy efforts for the moment. A lot of the business functionality of the clan has been turned over to her as well, being the eldest child of Middlebob II. So she's the first one that you deal with and bring this schematic to, and she immediately asks where you got it.
It's nailed to a zombie.
You just put it just like that, just matter-of-factly, just this is...
Sure, yeah.
You know, a courier dropped it off.
Yeah.
She asks for some embellishment.
Well,
It didn't die all over my floor.
I mean, the zombie knocked on Mahogany's shop's door
Very late at night.
very late at night. Mahogany opened the door, and dagger in the chest of the zombie was the schematic.
And Kikina says that she's actually surprised that you lot don't know what this is, considering you travel between worlds. That isn't that...
Well, we travel
through important worlds.
interesting worlds.
We take gates. We take shortcuts.
Portals, not ships.
Sometimes staircases. Sometimes.
I mean, least I could tell is
That's not a shortcut.
This thing has a mast, so I assume it's a ship of some kind. We don't do ships very often. In fact, I don't think we've ever done ships, have we?
We did a ship that one time you died.
The last time we did a ship, we just...
Oh no, when Riot died. That's right.
Well, we just put that ship back together. Remember the other day?
Oh yeah, that was a ship that happened.
Oh, yeah.
I
it
mean, we
wasn't a
didn't
real
really
ship.
ride it.
Yeah,
No.
and we didn't write it.
Anyway, ships aren't our thing.
I don't know.
In fact, Reese wrote it.
I put a ship back together.
Does that mean they're our
Kikina's
thing,
very
though?
confused. Was this before or after the zombie showed up?
Oh, this was
Before
all
the
before
zombie.
the zombie.
Before the zombie.
Listen, the zombie part isn't very interesting.
What is interesting is why your family's name is on this thing.
She says that this document is very, very old.
Okay.
And there are stories of Gnomish clans that lived out amongst the stars, that traveled between worlds using these great vessels.
Stars are worlds, then? Is that what a star is? Mahogany looks over at Nath.
Not quite.
Did she lie?
They're related.
So, do you think your father might know something about this, or is he busy? You think we can talk to him?
She seems uncomfortable at the prospect of her father receiving visitors like this, but at the same time, she seems incredibly intrigued that you've walked in here from Sigil carrying this particular schematic.
Well, we don't need to see him. If you don't... Do you know what we need to know?
Is there a thing between gnomes and lithids that I've never heard of? I mean, I
Make
knew
an
about the
insight
thing between.
check.
Okay.
Just charisma insight.
Wait, charisma insight? Oof.
Not charisma. What is wisdom insight? I'm
Wisdom.
sorry.
Yeah. This is a 14.
Okay. Kakina knows very well what Illithids are. She spent a lot of time out in the wilderness away from her clans. She's had a lot of dealings with deep gnomes, a clan of gnomes that lives deep within the earth. And so just the vast amount of evil and power that these creatures are capable of, she hasn't experienced it firsthand, but she's as knowledgeable about it as somebody could be without experiencing it firsthand. These creatures they control some kind of powerful, unstoppable magic that is undetectable, that can't be warded against. Their entire clans and families of deep gnomes and even dwarves have been lost to them, either slain in battle or taken as slaves. That's what she knows about Illithids.
So it sounds like
Sort of
yes.
nod.
I knew about the Githzerai Illithid thing, but I never knew that there was a whole deep gnome Illithid thing.
And she doesn't know much at all about the Githzerai.
There's one right there. And Riot
Oh.
points over to Nath.
You're very tall.
So they
He's purple, too.
Is Nath purple?
No, that's not purple.
What color are Githzerai?
Like
And-
grayish
and Riot-
brown.
Riot asks Mahogany, is that what you think purple is? That color? That's not purple.
No, that's definitely not purple.
Mahogany shrugs. He's like, listen, I'm not an artist. I'm a carpenter.
He's like, wait a minute. That explains. Last time I ordered 300 gallons of purple paint and the asshole bought green. Kakina says that she's willing to sit two of you down with Middle Bob II to discuss these schematics. But she also reveals he's been in very frail health recently. And he wasn't in the best of health last time you guys were here. He was able to get around pretty well, but the way she's described it is that health is failing pretty quickly. Make another insight check, Riot.
That's 14 again.
14 again. She's holding something back from you when she talks about her father's health.
Riot suggests that might not be so bad for you, right? Opens up a nice opportunity. I know that you and him don't see eye to eye on how the clans run.
She says that since your last visit, since you worked to bring the clan back together from disparate parts of the, from many worlds, really, it seemed to her as though a great weight was lifted off of her father. So it's kind of been a bittersweet situation for him, because for him it's the other way around. He wasn't sure what his family's future was going to be with these great rifts running between it, but now that there is unity once again, perhaps he can die peacefully. It's Kakina's opinion that that's where this illness comes from.
I see. He was hanging on because he was worried, and now that he's not worried anymore, he's ready to let go.
You can never
That
tell him I
sounds perfect.
confided that to you.
I don't think we'll be speaking to him about this stuff.
Yeah,
So yeah.
Okay.
Is that not something magic does? Deal with that?
Deal with what?
Mahogany looks over at Nath again.
It's kind of rude to
Deals with
ask
what?
her to-
Old.
Nath just sort of raises an eyebrow at you. Mahogany, you probably know more about bringing people back from being dead than I do. But even I know you don't come back if you die of old age.
Kakina asks
Mahogany
if she
just-
can hold on to
Have
this
you been
schematic.
acting under the assumption your entire life that you just won't die because someone will resurrect you when you're too old?
Mahogany shrugs. He says, I barely know how old I am. Those first years were a blur.
Kakina asks if she can hold on to these schematics for a few days while she makes arrangements.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need anything.
Sure.
She arranges for you guys to be put up in lodgings in the town, unless y'all want to hunker down in Riot's hut back in an alley somewhere. I'm sorry,
traveled
Riot's
no matter what.
magnificent mansion.
The rest of
Wait,
the
you've got a mansion.
Yeah, I mean that's what Riot's gonna stay in every night is her mansion.
Is anybody?
He's going to charge us 200 gold to come to bed?
No, that's the club. The club is a different thing than the mansion. You guys can stay in my mansion for free.
This is why your mansion has different floor layouts, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Is anybody doing anything in this prime city over the course of the next day and a half or so?
I'm going to try to figure out from Nath how long water Genasi take to die.
Okay.
Mahogany, I have no idea how long water Genasi live.
Well, that was a short conversation.
But you know things.
Yes. Would you like to know the best way to fight off an Illithid, or how to
No,
execute the
absolutely
conspiracy?
Actually, Riot raises her hand.
This is
Step 1. Assume there is a Illithid conspiracy. Step 2. Go back to step 1.
Kelian decides this would be an opportune time to just go for a walk in the city. While everyone
Riot.
else talks and discusses amongst themselves.
Riot and Kelian, actually. Having lived in Sigil your whole lives with Genasi, they have a lifespan of about 120 years. They reach maturity about as quickly as humans do.
Yeah. Riot just reassures that, okay, don't worry, you will outlive me, I guarantee it.
Well, I mean, I already haven't.
Liberation
is going
would
through-
spend the time. Go ahead.
Going for a walk through town, Kelian?
Yeah.
And what's Liberation
And-
spending the time doing?
Liberation's spending the time in taverns, rubbing elbows with gnomes, getting to know them.
I
Swap.
promise Kelian is not going to get into trouble.
Okay. We'll see. Liberation, you receive a very cold reception everywhere you go in town. Barkeep's not willing to serve you, people not wanting to have conversations with you. You kind of get the cold shoulder everywhere you go.
Liberation looks really sad, like a lost puppy.
To learn more about racism, go to your local library. So there's good news and bad news. After about a day and a half, late afternoon on the second day, Kakina comes to pay you a visit. Actually, no, she's too important for that. She sends a runner to tell you to come pay her a visit.
Yeah.
All right.
Her father's not feeling up to receiving visitors, and she's very, very excited to reveal this. She gives you the name of a hermit who lives outside of the city limits, but is apparently, he's much older than her father is, and he has sailed one of these ships.
Ooh.
What's the hermit's name?
And once again, I love FantasyNameGenerators.com. His name
Yay.
is Julnabop Woodnail.
Julnabop.
Julnabop
Woodnail?
Woodnail.
Okay.
Here, I'll type it out because it's
I don't
just.
get why you're
that.
so flabbergasted, Riot. Naming yourself again about wood, it makes perfect sense to me.
It's
Oh yeah, show me a Julnabop tree.
Julnabop.
Riot, these crimes are complicated.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of what I have heard you say every single time you've opened your mouth about the Prime. Primes are complicated. Yeah. Pull the other one, Mahogany.
Julnabob lives in seclusion. City life is not for him. But this area of this Prime world is relatively safe for travel. You're in kind of the center of civilization. So outside of the city, there are miles and miles of farmland and things, roads leading out to mining operations. People freely travel these roads all the time. There are strict rules and regulations about what animals you're allowed to hunt in the forests, how many
Julnapop trees you can cut down.
Yeah, exactly. How many trees you can cut down, how many goods you can take along various stretches of road. Once you get beyond that border, out into kind of into the wilderness, that's where you're going to start running into smaller enclaves of people, especially a lot of like druidic cults or secluded ranger families, things of this nature. Predominantly humans, gnomes, and in smaller numbers, elves. Julnabop lives out in one of these wooded areas. And it's about 2 days travel. 2 days travel by horse. I don't know if any of you can ride.
I have a very high level of animal handling.
So Mahogany's going to ride?
I mean, I'll probably just run there
Okay.
as a horse.
Can Riot ride Mahogany?
Oh yeah, any day. Well, 200 gold.
Can liberation rate Mahogany.
Riot shrugs and forks it over.
Oh.
Mahogany hands it back. He says, "Let me in the next party. I love parties. That's my prepayment."
I'll throw another one for you when we get back.
Wait a minute.
For the whole thing.
This
But that was a money-making venture, you gotta understand.
And you didn't invite me?
Am I reading too much into that statement, or are you planning to kill Mahogany at your next party?
It'll be the first time.
All right. So it's very safe, as long as you stick to the well-traveled roads and don't cause any trouble. It's a very safe journey out from civilization into the boondocks. Or you can teleport there. I don't know what kind of magic you have.
Actually, no, I can't do that. I can teleport us back.
Teleport you back? Okay.
Because you haven't seen any trees there yet.
Hey,
I have
hey
to
Mahogany,
touch them.
Oh, you have to touch them. Okay.
what is your actual animal handling skill?
It's. I mean, you're probably higher. You. It
So miserable.
is +8.
Oh, okay, you beat me.
Thank God. That's my one thing. Animal handling. That's when I'm better.
There's so many rats in Sigil. You can use animal handling as much as you want.
I'm gonna train some rats when we get back.
Sounds awesome. You're given a chest by Kikina. A chest of goods to be delivered to Julnabop. And she says that the easiest way to get him to open his door is to bribe him. And inside the chest is predominantly food, but some other comforts, like freshly made linens.
And Riot's like, oh, if it's food he wants, I can give him all the food he can handle.
Mm. Kelian just shakes his head a little bit. No.
But there is a stopper jug with wine, fine breads and cheeses that are wrapped up in this chest. As she gives this to you to present to this old gnome.
Well, thank you.
And on the road, you are attacked by highwaymen and robbed. And now the adventure is to go get the chest back.
Yay!
Yeah, that's what I liked out of D&D.
They're prime highwaymen. We can take them.
I have so many little level 1 quests from DM's Guild where you chase down highwaymen.
I was going to say, joke's on you. Kelian ate all the food and drank the wine.
Well, you still need the chest. Taking the directions to this gnome's house. It's in a secluded part of the woods. It's in a very well-hunted part of the woods. It's very well cared for as well, in terms of you don't find any apex predators. There are no sign of bears or wolves or anything like that. You find little what you're pretty sure are gardens in various areas of the woods where types of herbs and plants are purposefully grown. And the house sits kind of half built, half carved into the side of this stone facade, next to which runs this pristine waterfall that turns a mill wheel attached to a building on the side of the house. The water.
Gotta speak with the plants.
What plant do you speak with?
I want to speak with the flowers. The well-maintained flowers.
Not really flowers, herbs and spices kind of thing. Plants that you can eat or smoke.
That's fine.
What do you say to them?
I want to know what the hermit's like.
Okay. Very, very in tune with nature and very, very protective of his little part of it. He has great skill with a variety of weapons, and he has great skill in anything to do with tracking, planting, sensing weather, the turn of the seasons. He takes great pains to make sure that animals don't die needlessly in his area of the woods. Animals that he kills for food or furs are used completely, and it's seen. You get a very druid sense from him.
Okay. Because I was getting a very ranger sense before you said that.
Yeah, it can go either way. But notably, since you asked, no, they don't mention any sort of magic. And there's a wide variety of druidic magic that could be used to cultivate the land, but he prefers to do it with his hands. Either he does not have access to that magic, or he does, but he doesn't use it.
All right.
Kelian, how much of this pipeweed do you steal and put in your pouch?
Kelian's behaving.
Kelian, I swear to God, if you smoke the weeds that I just talked to...
That would just be
Kelian,
rude.
if you smoke the weeds you just talked to, you will earn a blip for your alignment.
And you get maybe the area around this house, the area where this rocky facade is, this waterfall comes out and pours into a creek that disappears out into the forest, has been cleared of trees and foliage. And as you're approaching, an arrow just sprouts ahead of you in the stony path you've been following.
See, I knew he was a ranger, Mahogany says out loud.
What, druids can't use bows? If he was a ranger, he would have cast Summon Barrage, and it would have been 10,000 arrows.
That's true.
And looking up, you see this gnome perched way off in the distance, a couple 100 feet away, up on top of this rocky facade, with his arrow, and he's pulling another one out of his quiver.
Riot calls out to him and says, "Hey, whoa, Kelian sent us."
Your plants like you?
And what language do you call out?
Riot only knows common. Well, I mean, and a couple other languages, but I don't think it would do the party a lot of good for Riot to call out in Abyssal.
Did we make a ruling on, because monks can understand every language they hear? Do we make a ruling on whether they can identify every language they hear?
I think
this question came up a couple times.
I think it has, and I don't want to rule differently every time. Liberation, you for sure understand the response. And his response is that he doesn't want the tongue of man spoken on his land. That's what he calls out in response to what Riot said. The rest of you, unless you understand Gnomish, you don't understand what he said. You know what, Liberation, you've had enough interactions with the middle bobs to know to understand it's Gnomish. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't have an innate ability from monk to do it, you've spoken with the middle bobs on enough cases. You have a good handle on their accent. You would know what their language is.
Okay, then nudges Liberation, says, "Ask him if he speaks Draconic."
I'll I can respond to him in the languages I know, but that's either common or freaking infernal, and I don't think he likes infernal either. Just spitballing here.
Mahogany calls out to him in Draconic. "Do you speak Draconic?"
Mahogany, make a dexterity saving throw.
Yeah, all right. Whoop. How does a 11 do you?
What are you wearing on your feet?
I'm assuming like some kind of leather boots.
Okay. He puts the arrow through the boot in such a way that it doesn't pierce your foot. And pins your boot to the ground.
Riot calls out and tries Aquan.
Before that, he responds that he certainly will not suffer the language of beasts and murderers.
Try Aquan. He sounds like a druid.
Yeah, I'll try Aquan.
What do you say to him?
Is this acceptable, the language of the water?
He responds in very difficult to understand Aquan. Like, it's not even entirely Aquan. It's more primordial, which is a kind of cousin of Aquan. He responds, "What's in that box?"
Gifts for you.
And at that, you see him hop down and start climbing down this wall. Drops down to the ground. He still has an arrow knocked in his bow, but he's holding it low and not holding it towards you. And as he approaches... Well, it would take 2 people to carry this box.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
So I'm assuming you have the box just kind of set down amongst you.
Yeah.
Serenity could have carried it up on her shoulder. Well, I don't know. Nath could have loaded it up onto a floating disc, for all I know.
Floating disc has to be recast every hour. I actually looked at it because I was thinking the same thing. That's kind of a huge pain in the ass.
That's annoying.
Nath, when he's not watching, can you fix my boot?
It's a very aged gnome. He doesn't have any hair left on the top of his head. Just lots of just dark spots and wrinkles and folds. He has a very tightly cropped beard. Most of the gnomes that you've met who wear a beard have kind of these big flamboyant beards hanging off the front of his face. Not this guy. It's very tightly cropped to his face. Kind of the opposite of every person we saw at SGDQ this week.
Yep.
His skin is milky pale. Very, very white. And he's wearing clothes that look very old and worn, but also very well cared for. And he approaches the group of you as Nath and Mahogany wrench this arrow out of his boot.
Doesn't care about other people's clothing, clearly.
And he points with the tip of his bow. Not with the arrow knocked into it, but the tip of it. He points at Riot and Kelian to approach with the box. And says as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kelian obliges.
And he has to open it up.
Sure.
He kneels down next to it, pops it open, and just the look of delight on this old gnome's face when he opens this box. It's like a small child opening a Christmas present. And he licks his lips in anticipation. Slams the lid of the box back down. Stands up. And then he says, again in his broken Aquan to Riot, he supposes he can spare a few hours since you come all this way to give him a gift.
Thank you.
Mahogany, you understand Aquan, right?
I actually speak primordial.
Oh.
I think I speak Aquan as well, just because of my race.
That's what I was assuming.
Yeah, so I got Aquan and primordial, actually.
Okay. So, and Liberation understands everything. So it's just the other two of you who are kind of in the dark.
It's probably better for Kelian that way.
He directs Kelian and Riot to carry his box of goods inside.
Riot does so and kind of grumbles like, I'm not the strong one in the party. Why me?
It's some food and wine and like a blanket.
It's a big box. I hate carrying things.
Well, our strong one is dead, so...
Liberation's the new strong one. Actually,
Yeah, but
Mahogany
yeah,
got an
we'll-
Ion
we'll-
Stone of Strength.
We'll carry it in.
Okay. the inside of the house, it's basically kind of one large room inside with a semi-solid partition down the middle. It's a packed earthen floor. Far in the back of the room, it looks like it goes a good 25 feet back into this cliff face. Has a flaring fire in the hearth. He's got one chair in the room, a rocking chair that he's apparently made himself out of local wood, sitting in front of the fire. Other than that, it's a very Spartan abode. There are furs and things hanging along the walls. There's a wood-burning stove in the center of the room. Beyond the partition, you see a mill turning slowly, grinding grain, being powered by the waterfall outside.
Must not entertain very much.
And he directs you as to where to take the box. And he indeed introduces himself as Julnabap Woodnail.
And Riot will introduce herself and the others. So, especially the ones who aren't allowed to speak.
Is Nath using any spells to...
No, he doesn't have any prepared.
Okay.
I guess Riot could try casting raries, just so everyone.
Yeah, I was gonna try and nudge you into casting a raries.
Yeah, I'll put a raries up.
As soon as everybody comes in, I mean, he turns the chair so the back of it's facing the fire, and he jumps up and sits in it. So he's facing you all, and he directs you all to sit on the ground in front of him. There are furs to be made available if you don't want to just sit down in the dirt.
Liberation plops down.
Riot's good standing.
Okay. And once you all are inside, the door is closed, and he opens the box. He's very generous, sharing the goods that you've brought. He breaks the bread 5 ways. He only has his own glass. He only has need of one to fill wine. But he fills it and passes it around so that everyone may share of the bounties that you brought.
I'll have some of my Riot carried it all the way here.
It's good Gnomish wine. And after you all have had a little bit of pleasantries and had some bread and wine and some of his homegrown vegetables, he very bluntly, but not unpolitely, gets right to it. He asks, what do those middle bobs want this time?
They sent us to ask you about this schematic that we found. And Riot motions whoever has the schematic to present it to him.
Kelian will brandish the schematic.
Okay. And you've put up Rary's telepathic bond with everybody in the room?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's speaking in either Aquan or Gnomish, depending on what you guys want to hear, and then you guys can just relay back through the bond. I would recommend not switching back to Common or Draconic.
Yeah,
and
Riot is going to conduct all her business in Aquan.
Abyssal is probably right out. Actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
He probably wouldn't recognize Abyssal if he heard it.
It's probably a pretty nasty sounding language.
Everyone recognizes Abyssal when they hear it.
Even if you don't know it's Abyssal, you know that that's not a great language.
You just know it's wrong.
You should try another
Liberation.
one, maybe.
That's why Liberation isn't speaking.
He looks at the schematic, and he sinks back into his chair and rocks all the way back on it. And he pores over it. It looks like he's getting lost in it. Like somebody who is looking through a book they haven't read in a very long time. Kind of wistfully. Does anybody interrupt him over the course of the next 10, 12 minutes or so?
I don't want to read the book, so he can get right to it.
And at long last, after he's kind of gone through all the pages, he says that he sailed aboard this vessel when he was very, very young.
Through the space, Riot says, not knowing the Aquan word for Phlogiston.
He said that he sailed between many elvish and human systems in his day, carrying trade and custom, and infrequently passengers.
What became of the ship?
He says he became too old to serve aboard it. He took his lifetime of wealth and bounty and retired back to the world where he was born, back to these woods.
But it still runs? Somebody still sails it?
He says he hasn't been in contact with any of the crew for many years. But no, unless it was taken by pirates or decommissioned, it still flies amongst the stars.
Can you get us in contact with whoever captains it now?
At this, he closes the schematic, looks up from it, and he looks a little skeptical. He asks to what end?
We want to go kill some illithids.
Yeah, we're hunting mind flayers. We know that they sailed the space.
He turns and he spits in the dirt next to his chair.
See, killing illithids brings everyone together.
He says that there is no profession amongst the stars more noble than slaughtering illithids. But that this
Once
is not
that's translated, Nath will nod and smile at him.
But this is not the sort of vessel you would use. This is a trade vessel. It's not meant for war. Does this say on here how much crew this vessel has? I think it was like 60 total, but it might not have been this document. I have a lot of Spelljammer documents on my hard drive right now. What I especially like about this ship in particular, just to interrupt myself here, is if you look at the little diagram in the bottom left, it shows the gravity plane of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Yeah,
bottom
yep.
deck, you're
Yep.
upside down.
Is inverted, yeah.
It's pretty cool. But no, through any routes through especially dangerous territories, through pirate territories or suspected illithid territories, they would hire on mercenary vessels to travel with them. That this is not the kind of ship you would use to fight illithids with. He asks if you know the name of the vessel that you're seeking.
Do we?
You don't.
Yeah, we
I
don't.
don't think we do.
Yeah, all we know is that there is one particular group of mind flayers who sail the space, and they have something we want, and we mean to take it from them.
And Mahogany says, and we were told we would get information about how to find them, and then we got... And he looks at the paper.
And Nath will ping you over the raries and kill them. Be sure to add and kill them. Also put that in front of find them.
Riot suddenly thinks, wait a
Yeah.
second.
Exactly. Mahogany's thinking that too.
Yeah, wait a minute.
I think they may have been taken. If you can find us this, you may find us the illithids at the same time.
He presses you for details on how you might know that. What gives you that impression?
We're working with somebody who shares our hatred of these illithids, but is under, call it a geas, not to harm them. They're the information gathering half of the bargain.
He asks if you all are comfortable camping out in the woods for a night or two.
I'm comfortable
Absolutely.
anywhere.
Sure.
Oh, I'm a druid.
He says that he'll come out and dispel any ridiculous mansions you put up in his woods and then chase you out.
All right.
No.
Well, then Riot will. Yeah.
No, he's fine with it.
Okay.
Very notably, he does not make to hand the schematic back to you.
I don't know what we would do if we still had it anyway.
Build one of our own.
With what money?